The Great Gatsby is written by F. Scott Fitzgerald. This was his third book and published on April 10, 1925. F. Scott Fitzgerald was one of the major American writers of the 20th century. His writings are insightful and stylistically brilliant. Hereafter, let's look a little bit about the Great Gatsby storybook. My name is Tirmizisah bin Ahmad, and I will convey the storytelling in the digital way that includes the results I have obtained upon completing the review of all the contents contained in the book. Our narrator, Nick Carraway, moves to the East Coast to work as a bond trader in Manhattan, New York. He rents a small house in West Egg, an over-rich town in Long Island. In East Egg, the next town over where all money people live, Nick reconnects with his cousin Daisy Buchanan, her husband Tom, and meets their friend Jordan Baker. Tom takes Nick to meet his mistress, Myrtle Wilson. Myrtle is married to George Wilson, who runs a gas station in a gross and dirty neighborhood in Queens. Tom, Nick, and Myrtle go to Manhattan, where she hosts a small party that ends with Tom punching her in the face. Nick meets his next-door neighborhood, Jay Gatsby, a very rich man who lives in a giant mansion and throws wildly extravagant parties every weekend, and who is a mysterious person no one knows much about. Nick starts a relationship with Jordan. Through her, Nick finds out that Gatsby and Daisy were in love 5 years ago, and that Gatsby would like to see her again. Gatsby tells Nick how he met and fell in love with Daisy before he had to ship out to fight in World War I. Gatsby has been obsessed with getting Daisy back. Nick arranged for Daisy to come over to his house so that Gatsby can accidentally drop by. Daisy and Gatsby start having an affair. Tom and Daisy come to one of Gatsby's parties. Daisy is disgusted by the ostentatiously vulgar display of wealth, and Tom immediately sees that Gatsby's money most likely comes from crime. During lunch, Daisy and Gatsby are planning to tell Tom that she is leaving him. Gatsby suddenly feels uncomfortable when he's in Tom's house. They go to a suite at the Plaza Hotel where many secrets comes out. Gatsby reveals that Daisy is in love with him. Tom in turn reveals that Gatsby is a bootlegger. Gatsby demands that Daisy renounce Tom entirely. Daisy can't bring herself to say this because it isn't true, crushing Gatsby's dream and obsession. It's clear that Daisy has chosen to stay with Tom. That evening, Daisy and Gatsby drive home in his car with Daisy behind the wheel. When they drive by Wilson gas station, Myrtle runs out to the car because she thinks it's Tom driving by. Daisy hits and kills her, driving off without stopping. Tom tells George Wilson that the car that struck Myrtle belongs to Gatsby. That night, Gatsby decides to take the blame for the accident. The next day, after Daisy and Tom skip town, George Wilson shoots and kills Gatsby and then himself. Nick tries to find people to come to Gatsby's funeral, but everyone who pretended to be Gatsby's friend and came to his parties now refuses to come. Even Gatsby's partner Wolfsheim doesn't want to go to the funeral. Gatsby's father comes to the funeral from Minnesota. Disillusioned with his time on the East Coast, Nick decides to return to his home in the Midwest. These are the Great Gatsby character map. Looking through this map now, we can hardly understand what exactly the story is all about. What I like about this book is that it is a story of the thwarted love between a man and a woman. The main theme of the novel, however, encompasses a much larger, less romantic scope. The Great Gatsby is in many ways similar to Romeo and Juliet, yet I believe that it is so much more than just a love story. Gatsby wants to create a beautiful future by restoring the past. This is what leads Gatsby to say his famous line, "Can't change the past." Why? Of course you can. His line makes me want to go back to my past also and just remain there, for it was a better place. I don't like Daisy for didn't stating that she never loved Tom, but Gatsby to me remains great right until the end of this book. This is a great novel. You should read.